So I'm Bryan Smith, and the first game we were going to analyze was, your name is Hull? That's your last name? H-U-O? Okay. What's your first name?
Justin.
Justin. And you're Jacob Furfine? Furfine? Okay. It's a little hard to read this, but okay. So E4, Justin played, and then Jacob played E6, French defense. Okay, knight to C3. D5, and D4. So it doesn't matter if you go really knight C3 and then D4, or it doesn't really make any difference. Okay, knight F6. White went E5. Also, white could go bishop G5. Okay, let's just, you guys probably know this. Knight F to D7, F4. So white supports the center and is going to bring the knight out behind, keeping E5 guarded. And in general, in this line, white allows black to trade C5 and D4 pawns, but keeps E5 as a strong point for now, and D4 will be used by pieces. So as opposed to the other strategies, first of all, you can try to defend both E5 and D4 with pawns, and you do that by knight to E2, which is a rare, kind of somewhat rare variation, but the idea is then you can play C3 after C5, and then you go F4, and so now F6. So all the pawns are supported, and then it becomes a very sharp game. That's not the most common. Then the completely opposite way is to support the pawns with pieces, and when black attacks them, you trade it off, and then you guard, let's say, and then like this, and then when black attacks again, then you trade it off again, and now you try to use the E5 and D4 squares for the pieces. So hold two different ways of approaching the problem of how to keep the center under control. One, to try to protect with pawns and keep the pawns there, and the other to trade them off and use the squares for the pieces. In this game, white uses the most popular, which is sort of in between, and it doesn't require this moving the knight a second time. Okay, C5. So black attacks the pawn chain. This is the key move in the French defense. Knight F3, knight C6, bishop E3. You knew this, right? You both knew this theory? Yeah, this was introduced by Boleslavsky, I think in the 1950s or 40s maybe, I don't know. Black took, actually. No, right now the way people play a lot is, instead of, taking is fine, but A6 and B5 expanding right away. So it makes it real dangerous for white to castle queenside. Like if white goes queen to D2, B5, castles queenside C4, and now black is getting a really big attack on the queen side. B4, and then C3 is coming next, just opening up the queen side. Queen A5, and all this type of stuff. So if you have any questions, be sure to ask, by the way. I don't want to just talk and not know if people are understanding or wondering about something. So okay, so black played C takes D4. Okay, knight takes D4, and now A6. The main, bishop C5 is the most natural move. There's no need to play A6 yet, but maybe it doesn't make a difference. Let's see. A6. Okay. Queen to D2. Yeah, I don't see how it makes a difference really. Maybe. Yeah, whatever. Okay, queen to D2. And black went bishop E7. I think this is first of all, a little passive. You need to create some pressure around D4, like bishop C5. Here, white has a space advantage, and you need to be fighting against it. Now the idea is, like if white castles, and then next black can take with a knight on D4 and then B5. Sometimes take with a bishop, but the idea is then push B5, push B4, A5, bishop A6, and try to trade off that bishop. And meanwhile, get an initiative on the queen side. So like might go here, and then maybe black takes it, and then goes here. Or let's say here, here. White can play different ways, but this is the general idea. Then bishop A6. So knight A4 is better, but that's a whole other. Okay, so bishop E7 I think is a little bit. Just a second. Bishop E7 I think is a little bit a little bit passive. But bishop e2, now I would really, if I was white, I would castle queenside, I think, here. With the bishop on e7, I think it makes sense to castle queenside.
I did think about it. I thought I could just reserve my options.
Well, yeah, you can, but after black castles, you have to make a decision anyway. And I don't know if the bishop belongs on e2. Maybe you want to put it on d3, you know, in some cases. Or you leave it at home for a while until its position is clear.
Yeah, true.
So here I think, you know, because black loses a lot of options with the bishop on e7. It doesn't have as much pressure on the... But okay, so you went bishop e2. Black castled. White castled kingside. So white's taking a kind of safe path, you know, to... And another thing, by the way, after bishop e2, like if bishop c5, bishop e2, I think black can do this, yeah. That's a tactic to, you know, because queen h4 check. Like if takes, knight takes, and queen h4. So that would win for black. But knight takes c6 now, then black has, because the bishop's hanging, right? Black has to take on e3. Now if white takes back, black takes on c6, ends up a pawn. So white has to take on d8, black takes on d2. And now its knight is trapped on d8, so black's knight needs to go somewhere like to g6 maybe. And then white needs to get the knight out, so take on probably f7 or something like that. e6, f7, f7. And then got that ending. g3 maybe, I don't know, whatever. I'm not threatened to take on f4, but in any case white will have to play g3, so. And it's about equal, yeah? Something around there maybe. Black has this bishop on c8, but it's going to get pressure on the c file, and the pawns in the center it's hard for white, like if white's knight were on f3, it'd be another matter, but it's going to take white time to bring his knight to those dark squares. On c3 it doesn't do much. Maybe it's better to have gone knight d7. Does it make a difference? White still has to take somewhere on f7 or e6. Probably e6 this time. Now the knight can come to c5. So that's interesting stuff. But okay, just for fun, that's variation. Which is why sometimes if people, after bishop c5, if people want to play quietly instead of casting queenside, g3 then. You know. Okay, but bishop e7. Okay, so you went bishop e2. Castles. Again, you could castle queenside with more sharp, and with the bishop on e7, you have good. I think you have good attacking chances. So okay, castles. Knight takes d4. Okay, so black needs to be bishop takes d4, bishop c5. So now you see what it was better to have put the bishop on c5 right away. Here it would be black's move, and you would play b5. You know, so now it's white's up a move. Bishop takes c5, queen d4. If queen c7, again, instead of f5 here, maybe you do this then. Because you need to rearrange your pieces. The bishop on e2 wasn't doing much, and the knight on c3 isn't. So you can play knight, and I'm not worried, of course, about black taking, because what's left is this bishop against this knight, and black's pawns are on the light squares. And now the c file is open, so white's going to take that over. Now f5 is really dangerous also, and this knight just dominates over the bishop. And dark squares are weak everywhere, as you all understand that. This is a real important concept. And so black doesn't do that, but, well, yeah. Also, then you get the possibility to play b4 and chase the knight back. It's also something that could be done. Okay, you weaken the c file, but it might not matter. But anyway, I'm going to continue with knight e2 and then at the knight to d4 or something like that. I don't know, that's one way to play, I guess. But okay, so here, but black played back to d7, right? Oh no, queen e7, I think it's?
E7.
Oh, you went to e7. Okay, well that's not as good as c7 because now after f5, the f6 can come with tempo and the e5 pawn's not under attack. The queen c7 we saw we saw queen c7, f5 is met by just coming back. And I don't think white has anything here. And e5 is just going to be weak. I mean, yeah, you can take here, take, and rook takes. But I think you can probably even take with a king, but in any case, knight takes. And black is fine. White has no attack, and e5 is weak. But maybe you can take with a king, probably. I don't know. There's some tactics here then. Some problems on the back rank. Maybe bishop, queen h4, rook f1, some things like that could happen. But knight takes is fine. And what did white achieve? Yeah, knight g6, yeah. In any case, black should defend the king side without too much trouble, and then, you know, king. Still have, yeah, whatever. Okay, but queen e7 not quite as good because f5 now. So f5. Now it went knight d7 anyway, which I don't think that black can get away with that. But maybe, okay, you're threatening to trade queens, so okay. Let's see, knight d7, f6. Here, I would definitely not want to allow the queen trade. I mean, this is... Yeah, or king h1 or something. Now it's changes a lot. Okay, it's still. Let's see what happens. It looks like maybe still white has some play. Okay, so you took queen, took back. Bishop f3. Yeah. Yeah, you gotta. I don't know. I would. Yeah, okay, bishop. But you need to get some counterplay on the king side. I was trying to. I would want to do some. Okay, let's say takes and. Do something like this, but maybe f5. The idea is. Yeah, still okay. Whatever. Okay, so bishop f3. But okay. How about this? Bishop d3. Because I don't think the bishop can do much on f3. So bishop d3. And this way, we're still not afraid of black taking that bishop. We're very happy for black to take that bishop, right? So this allows you to get your pieces in a more orderly way. And
that's a good bishop.
well, yeah, but you got to look at what's left. It's still, I don't know about this one. No, but this is not good for white. I mean, black's center pawns are really strong. Yeah. That's not good. So we'll probably have to take first on g7, and then bishop d3. And here black can go f6, but then h7 will be hanging at the end. So, and again, taking on d3. So your bishop is a decent piece, right? I mean, it's decent, but it's not like this. This is an incredible piece, and his knight is his only. I mean, for now, well, basically you just look at it, and this knight can start jumping in on the dark squares, and there's nothing to oppose it. Like knight e2, knight f4, knight h5, knight f6. You can actually get a real attack, and you have black has nothing after that to control. For instance, f6. So, or let's say, so if you don't do something, rook f6, rook f1, black's tied down there, and then the knight starts coming in. If the knight comes to d4, it's really dominant. It's covering the invasion square on c2, and black can't just can't do anything really. Meanwhile, if f6, then you're trading, and then d4, and now maybe black will hold. I'm not sure, but it's not worse for white, that's for sure. Probably white's much better. The bishop is, you can create a passed pawn on the king side later, and a knight start. If you get your knight to e5 or c5 or something, that could be great.
Yeah.
So you don't worry about him taking. So bishop d3 I think is pretty reasonable. Now you're ready to defend knight e7, rook a to e1. And f6 you can trade and then take on h7. I don't think your position's too bad. Bishop here, let's say for instance, then and then this is the idea. You start build up threats. Rook f1, rook check him into the corner, then rook h4. Maybe then he'll be forced to take somehow on d3. So I don't think it's that clear here. You know. Takes bishop d3. So maybe your decision wasn't too bad to allow the queen trade. I'd say.
And I don't know, bishop d3. I like the no.
Yeah. Okay, so let's see what happened. So you you went bishop f3. Yeah, now you can I could end up with some strong center pawns too. Knight d7. Now I think white's in some trouble probably. Knight d7. So it says b4. Is that what white?
Did you play knight d7?
Oh, sorry, it's Lao for d7. It's even. But that's what just a second. Okay, so queen c5, queen c, bishop f3. Yeah, bishop d7, but actually, what do you do after knight d7?
I was planning to take in g7 and rook a d1.
Yeah.
Rook a e1.
Yeah, okay, whatever. Yeah, that looks fine. But oh yeah, takes and then knight d7. That's still, you can go back with your bishop. I don't know. I would say take on f6 though, because e takes f6. Now just develop. And that pawn on f6 is probably going to be weak, and plus black's center is pretty strong.
Right.
I think that looks pretty natural, right? Okay, so bishop d7. b4. I don't like this move because really weakness is on the weakness is on the c file. So why did you play it though? If you
I honestly didn't see knight a4. I was like, wait a minute.
Oh, okay.
It's knight a4.
Yeah, before you make a move like that, you got to be sure that you're winning something. You know, you gotta look what he's doing after that. So I would say take on g7 first of all, so that he doesn't have the chance to get to the center, and then now maybe something like this. Just bring the rook up to the 4th rank. It's pretty useful there. It covers a lot of squares. Can swing over and create some threats on the king side. Rook d4.
Yeah.
So like it's going to first of all slow down his b4 push, and also maybe you can swing over. It would be nicer to have the bishop on d3 so that you can threaten h7, but you can also get some ideas like rook d4, rook f4, and bishop h5. Create threats against f7, force him to go bishop e8. It's also some idea that you could use. I still don't think it looks too bad for white. I mean, probably if black had taken on f6, then like before, I think this is pretty bad for white, because I don't see a real counterplay on the king side for white now. Black just goes king h8 and only, I mean, it's not, I don't think there's much going to happen there. And black gets real easy play on the c file, rook c8, b5, b4, and just, rock solid center. So, okay, so rook a to d1. Okay, so but you played b4. Now I think, well, let's see what happens. b4, knight a4. Okay, knight e2. That's probably good. You need to keep that knight to create some threats. That's another idea, actually. Just bringing the knight over, like that. Maybe take and then bring the knight over. Another idea.
Take what?
I mean, take on g7 and then knight e2,
Oh, okay.
rather than rook a to d1. But okay, bringing that knight over is a good idea. So b4, knight a4, knight e2. Oh, but bishop b5 though.
Yeah.
Yeah, bishop b5 is a problem.
Frustrating.
Yeah, so that is what black played, yeah? Yeah. Still, when you take on a4, suddenly your supposed good bishop is much worse than his supposed bad bishop.
Yeah.
You know, so. But bishop b5, okay. Yeah, now position is really getting, like positionally, just the long-term elements are real bad for white. Rook f2, bishop takes, knight, bishop takes, knight, knight c3, I guess.
Yeah.
I think it's, okay. Yeah, I mean, I was first going to say move a rook to the c file, but no, okay, let's see this one. Bishop, because I think a5 looks interesting after this. Bishop d3, even g6.
G6 is actually frustrating.
Yeah, it is. Your position is tough, but I mean, what still, even without g6, what's the counterplay? I'm not worried about. Well, okay, let's. G6 is fine now. Okay, G6, Rook, F. I can't read this. Rook, 4.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, you really need to concentrate on defense of your queenside here. I think something like maybe. Well, first of all, I think you have to play this at some point.
I do play it in a few rooms.
But I'm worried about black. The reason why I didn't want to play G6 right away is because I was thinking black could play A5 and meet B5 with A4. Here, white gets a chance to go A4 and then keep a pawn on A4, which is obviously not great, and probably in the long term black will win. But it looks much worse if black can get the pawn to A4 and artificially isolated B5, which he's going to win, and also that pawn becomes dangerous in its own right. So instead of G6, like for instance, this is black. Did you do this at some point soon? No? But I mean, this move looks pretty. It looks pretty strong, right? Gives white this pawn structure sort of asks for that move to be played. If white takes on a5, you know, now white's hurting, right? And if white, I mean, the only other thing is to push, but now black gets the chance to play a4, and this pawn is first of all going to be lost at some point. And if black gets the pawn to a3, white has to play a3, I would say here. If black gets the pawn to a3, white's stuck permanently with that a2 pawn under attack by the knight, and the a3 pawn is going to be a permanent threat. So I suppose a3, right? And now, you know, now you build up leisurely. Now maybe g6. I mean, of course, white could have taken on g7, but it didn't make a difference. In fact, it would help black because then black might play f6 and just really break things open. Like, we don't have to play g6. We could just begin with something like this, and then maybe rook c5. But, you know, we're not going to be in a hurry to take the b5 pawn because we don't want to trade off the minor pieces yet. It'll give white chances. But it looks real. This looks tough for white. Okay, so in the game was g6, and white a4 would still. I mean, a4 pawn is also permanently under attack. Maybe white will have some rook a3 moves after, but yeah, okay. White played rook f4, and now rook f4, rook a to c8. It looks like, yeah. But why do you use the a rook? Why do you need the rook on f8? I mean, why do you use? Yeah, I mean, why? I would personally, like, if I'm going to put first of all, I know that a5 is coming into my thoughts. It might even be better than what I was saying, like to play b5, maybe even now, and prepare a5 when white won't be able to push by with b5. And probably this pawn on a2 is just going to die. You know? But in any case, I know that, like, if I do this, what is that rook on f8 doing? White's not going to checkmate you over there. In fact, you probably want to be able to move your king at some point to the center. I would still use this rook then, in any case, because you don't need that rook on f8. But okay, so rook a to c8. So white didn't go rook e1. White went king f2. And then knight e4 check. King e3. So didn't want to take, and yeah, white would be much worse there. Maybe, but maybe he can hold. What's so bad about this? this pawn on f6 is a huge thing. I mean, that's really huge. I don't know. I was wanting to avoid that. I think white's better here. You know, you can sacrifice like the a2 pawn in some cases, even, and then your rook gets the back rank, and black's destroyed. You know, black will have to play h5 or something. You check, king will go to h7, then rook f8, and you're winning the f7 pawn. That's a much bigger deal than black winning the a2 pawn. So knight e4, I don't think black should do. I think black needs to. If we had a rook on a8, we could play a5 again, or b5 and then a5. But knight e4 doesn't. Okay, so knight e4, king e3, rook c3. I think white still stands pretty well here. You know, a4. Rook to c8. And it says king e2.
Yeah, I noticed after I played king d4, I wanted to play king d4, but I couldn't.
Why is it?
Well, I was going to play king d4 and I can't take the knight because of checkmate to me.
Yeah, well, that's fine, but the king still stands well on d4 for now. You should, but what's black planning here? Black planning anything?
You'll see. It's crazy what happens.
Well, after king e2, maybe then some stuff can happen, but what if we just start pushing here on king side? What does black do now?
You play knight g3.
Okay. Maybe g4 was more accurate, but I suppose I could go back to f2 for now. But okay, g4, let's say, because I'm going to play both. I don't know. Just let me look here for a second. Okay, h4, knight g3. Rook g4. No. Still think white's better in a lot of these positions. Black is, white's holding on the queen side, and black has got real problems on the king side. There's a pawn on f6, and knight f5, come back to d2, and now h5 is coming. Black plays h5, rook f4, and then later g4, opening the king side. Okay, so king e2 looked real awkward. G5. Okay, not sure about that. But rook f3. Rook g4, then h5. And so can't do that. So rook f3, I suppose. h6. Okay. Rook e3. But here, why again? Could play something. Does this work? I don't know why rook e3. Oh, you wanted to take his rook, or you wanted to take the knight, and.
I was thinking about it.
But then he's going to have two. He's going to have two rooks threatening you. You want to trade a pair of rooks if you're going to go into that rook. If you're going to trade the bishop for the knight like this. So he took on c2 now, made an exchange sacrifice. And with a rook on e3, probably it's a lot more promising than if he had done it right away. Although maybe if he did it right away, that might have been a decent idea, just as a fighting chance, because it looked pretty tough for black. But I don't know. So let's see how it went. So did you consider that you stood better or worse here, by the way?
I thought after this I was basically winning.
You thought so? Okay. I mean before this, like when he could have played G4.
Before I thought he was better.
Oh, okay.
But I didn't think you would see.
But what happens after this move?
Oh, he didn't play king there.
I should have played there, and I
Yeah.
was just like.
How are you winning though? I don't get
I'm
it.
just gonna bring my king up to.
king d1, check, takes, rook f3. So you went rook back to c2. We got it. It's like 9 o'clock now. How much further does this game go? Okay, just a few more moves. We'll just play through the rest quickly. Sorry, I spent the whole time on this.
Oh, we don't
Interesting.
need to go to the other games.
Yeah, but it was your game as well. So or your rook, okay, rook f3, rook c2, rook h3. Okay, that doesn't help you much, but I can understand
It
you.
was really well in time. I'm just trying to make some threads.
Yeah. I suppose try some b5
I
move or
did try that in
something.
a second.
If you play b5, I can play a5.
Yeah, I know.
No,
And
no,
b6 and rook b1. No, b6. Yeah, no. I think it's really tough position. Okay, rook c2, rook h3, king h7, rook d1, king. I can't tell, but it was here, I guess, right?
Yeah.
Rook b3. Now rook takes h2.
Should like rook c1 there, I think.
Oh,
Or
yeah.
whether I couldn't cut out.
No.
Oh, no, never mind. Continue.
Rook b3. Rook takes h2. Yeah. Rook e3. Rook. I can't read it.
Rook c2.
Rook c2. It's pretty clearly there's some f5. Are you sure it's not king f5 or something? Which looks natural. But okay, rook c2. Rook e2. Then it says
Double question
h5.
mark, yeah.
Then it says h5. So I think that something's wrong. I can't read the.
No, he played rook e2, so I took on e2, and then played knight c3,
Oh,
and then
okay.
played h5.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that there's there's a h5 included somewhere here because I can definitely read that. But yeah. So then then that's whatever. Yeah. So then that's a very good exchange sacrifice. And yeah, I mean it's definitely something that the position asks for. A4, rook c8, king e2 is the like first of all, don't put the king on e2.